Where do you turn when you want to lose weight? You don't want to go to some muscle-bound dude or some skinny chick who's going to teach us how to do it, even though we probably should want to learn from them, but we feel like they're condescending us because they don't understand where we're at. We, of course, don't want to go to a fellow fat bugger, because what could they teach us when they have no idea themselves? So we're stuck with nowhere to turn. Well, listen up, because we're going to try and find the answers together right here. Okay. This episode's called A Break from the Pressure. Just wanted to have a catch-up day with you more than anything. We've been putting, a fair bit of pressure on each other, I know, to perform. And I just want to let you know, now we're on day 2 of the streak, right? It's all good. The streak hasn't ended. We're just not going to talk about it today. We're going to catch up. So what's been going on for the last couple of weeks? I promised you yesterday that we would have a chat about the fun. And you know what it was? It was fun as hell. Put on so much pressure. I wonder if that's the secret. I put on so much pressure making this event of going to Arnold's and impressing him and all that being such a big deal that, I don't know, that I didn't forget to appreciate how awesome it was, but certainly when it comes to this recording and all the recordings leading up to it, that I certainly didn't take much time to kind of really just reflect on how incredible it is to have had that opportunity. So anyway, we leave Perth, and as you know, we fell off the wagon a little bit over there weight-wise, but it's all good. We're not talking about that today. So we go from Perth. We head to the States, and I'm sitting there even recording podcasts on the now infamous lost phone, and I'm recording podcasts on the plane. And actually, when I found out that it's possible that I can be quiet enough, but still with the microphone still be heard, it's good news. I can record podcasts when I'm traveling. It's good. I need a seat or two beside me. That's the one thing. I can't be doing it if there's someone right next to me. But if there's a seat next to me, it's all good. So that was good. We get to the States, and so what we did was, after the 14-hour flight or whatever, there was a charging station at the rent-a-car place. And I put my phone in just thinking, I'll just charge my phone up for 5 minutes while I go get the car. Well, we get the car, we pack it up, and we are driving to Vegas. And by the time I get to Vegas, I go, oh my God, I left my phone at the rent-a-car back in LA. And I tell you, the rigmarole they put us through to get the phone back. Like, we couldn't just call the place and say, hey, go check the charger, see if my phone's still there. Oh no, it was go to the website, log it missing, fill out this form. And by the time we went through the rigmarole, it was gone. That was days later. By the time we got back from the Vegas leg of the journey, phone was gone. They were extraordinarily unhelpful. And it was just an all-round horrible experience. I wonder if I'd have been like that with their car. If I'd have said, oh, you know what, I've lost your car, but I kind of don't care. I need you to fill out this form and lodge a claim on to find your lost car that I've lost. I wonder if they would be that understanding if the table was turned on them. Anyway, really did draw my attention to the fact of how connected to our phones we are. In fact, it was a bit of a lesson that we're probably a bit unhealthy. And I know that people have said it before, but it wasn't until I lost the phone, and I did not have a phone for the rest of the trip. And Naomi and Renna, who were my traveling companions, of course, Naomi and her 18 turned 19-year-old daughter, Renna, on our journey, they still had their phones and I didn't have mine. And it really did draw my attention to how yucky it is for people you're with, for them to be on their phones and you just sort of sitting there looking at the world. It was eye-opening in many ways. So, but anyway, we went to the Grand Canyon and got all, magnificent photos, and it was a real experience. It was a cool trip. So we go to the Grand Canyon, we go to Vegas, we stayed at the Bellagio. It was, it was awesome. So we get back to Santa Monica. We're staying at Venice Beach. We're working out at Gold's Gym most days. And the day comes where we all meet at our little, we got a nice little 2-bedroom place there at Venice, looking out over the water, down at Santa Monica. I don't know if it was technically Venice or Santa Monica, but it's right there. A block away from Gold's, literally. You could have thrown a rock out of our balcony and been on the roof of Gold's Gym. Walked to Whole Foods, which was our nutrition, where we ate most times, most days, a couple of times a day most time. And we went to Gold's and stuff. So the day came where we were going to Arnold Schwarzenegger's house. It was, really incredible. And So we meet there. Soa, the Hulk Palele, comes and meets us there at our house. We had young Caleb Maddox, who's just, a social media legend in recent months. And in the year since I brought him out to Australia to speak at an event with Gary Vaynerchuk, Caleb came with us. Here's the thing about young Caleb. It was it's a charity raising poker game for 40 or 50 people at Arnold Schwarzenegger's house. So that's kind of what the event is. But, the poker game, there's a buy-in, and it's not a low one when you're playing at events with, Tom Arnold was at the event, Arnold's co-star out of True Lies. Matt Iceman, who won the Celebrity Apprentice, was there. Annie Duke, one of the world's greatest poker players, she was there. It was a great event, but the poker game ain't free. And Caleb expressed interest in coming, and I said, well, mate, there's a kind of a buy-in for it. All the money goes to charity and everything. There's some great prizes, but it's kind of not a freebie. I can take guests, but those guests are contributing as well. And this 15-year-old kid, right? When I hired him and met him, he was 14. He's now 15. He's a professional speaker. He's got a 6-figure business of his own, and he contributed $5,000 to Arnold's charity, not from his dad, but him. What 15-year-old has got $5,000 in liquid cash, really expendable income, to throw at at something like this, as a donation, man? And so Caleb, of course, came to the place. So we all met at our little thing. Vivian Yap, an amazing real estate agent from Australia, and we all caught up there. There was Dan and Richmond, which were our guests from the Total Success Summit. Dan won the raffle, and his friend Richmond, who he brought with him, and there was me and, of course, Naomi and Renna. So that was kind of our motley crew. I think I've got everyone. Hope I haven't forgotten anyone. Oh, Ash Martin, of course. Yeah, Ash Martin, real estate agent from Melbourne. Great young, amazing business owner, incredible man who I have the utmost respect for, one of the nicest human beings I've ever met, in fact. And Ash came with me last year as well. Great guy. Love Ash. I've known Ash for many years, and he really epitomises the thinking behind how we do our business in our marketing sense. He's a marketing animal, in fact, implementation legend. And it was great to hang out with Ash for a couple of days, and of course take him once again to Arnold's house. So we jump in the Ubers, and the Ubers, actually both the Ubers, both ours and the other Uber, both took a very, very long way. Not quite got lost, but boy, oh boy, took a long way to get there. So we weren't late, but we weren't as early as we'd like to have been. And so we got there, Arnold's there, we hang out, we meet, some of the people who were there early. When I say early, on time. We arrive at about 5 p.m, just before, and we get there, have the photos taken. I mean, it's all great. We had some photos taken. We went out the back and said g'day to Patrick Schwarzenegger, Arnold's son, and it's all going great. We're doing what we do every year. We're hanging out at his house. Arnold greets us and says g'day. He was really thankful, of course, that we took half a dozen people there this year to celebrate. So like 10% of that, the people that were there were us. It was pretty cool. So so that was good. And we met a couple of Hollywood producers, and like I said, Tom Arnold, Arnold's True Lies co-star, was there. But then kind of something pretty incredible happened about an hour in to the party. And he's got food on, and there's drinks and the bars there, and he's got his own personal cigar roller guy that's there, and it's really a full-on party. And next thing you know, and I could not believe that this happened, but by himself, walking out of Arnold's house out in the backyard where a couple of us are milling around, and there's Sylvester Stallone coming right towards us, and I had to go say g'day, so I said g'day. Sly, come say, and we got some photos taken, and we talked about his experience down in Australia, which was less than pleasant. It was quite public knowledge that he had some of his very legal supplements, some medically. What do they call it when the doctor writes your prescription? Medically prescribed supplements and, things like that. I think there's some hormonal replacement stuff, all this stuff anyway, that he takes to look 45 when he's 71. And, he got in some trouble with our authorities and our customs and all of that down here. And he certainly was in no rush to talk about coming back to Australia to kind of work with us and come to one of our events, as Arnold has done. And but it's interesting that I've heard from many people tell me time and time again that he will not be coming back to Australia. Period. That's it. He won't be coming. Heard that from a bunch of different people who know what they're talking about, and they're right. He was, when we were talking about it, he was telling us the whole story about how he felt, really disrespected, and, they put him under a light, like in the movies. That's how he described it. It was like in the movies. And I just said to him, Sly, on behalf of our country, I apologise. On behalf of all Australians, I apologised to Sylvester Stallone for putting him through that. And anyway, at the end of the talk, we talked for about, 15 minutes, half an hour or so. And it did go from being a firm no to being look, call my guy. He gave me his guy. To talk to about potentially exploring the possibility of coming down to Australia to an event, to a Total Success Summit in the future. So that's a nice goal to have on the list. But more importantly, it was just wonderful to hang out with another childhood hero of mine, share a drink, share a few laughs, share some stories, and not just posed pictures, but we got to hang out and talk, and that was just a dream come true. So, lots of fun. We didn't drink too much, but we had a lot of fun hanging out with our heroes. And I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about this, but certainly Soa, the Hulk Palella, UFC legend, UFC fighter. Soa made some wonderful connections because Soa's transitioning from his UFC career to a career in the movies. And so certainly hanging out with those folks was very good for Soa. And I can't say, I don't know if I'm allowed to say too much, so I'm going to err on the side of caution and not say too much, but some good stuff happened for Soa that night, and I'm sure we're going to be hearing more about that in the future. So, and of course, young Caleb, I've got to tell you about this. It was last year, a year ago, when we had Arnold booked in to come and speak at a second event in 2016. So the first time we worked with Arnold was 2015. Second time was going to be 2016, and that didn't end up happening because of one thing led to another. Donald Trump running for president meant he couldn't do his show. The Apprentice meant Arnold got his job being the host of The Apprentice, the Celebrity Apprentice in the States, and the scheduling, the filming of the Celebrity Apprentice got in the way of my event. So I was the first casualty of the Trump administration, and I was the first one fired from the Celebrity Apprentice in some ways. So anyway, young Caleb was, in some ways, Gary Vaynerchuk. It was going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger and Gary Vaynerchuk. It ended up being Gary Vaynerchuk as kind of our main headliner, and Caleb Maddox was our second American import. 14 years old, professional speaker, great young man. So in some ways, I mean, I know it's tongue-in-cheek when I say this, but in some ways, Caleb replaced Arnold Schwarzenegger on that bill. And I introduced Caleb to Arnold. I told him that story, and Caleb and Arnold got to spend, some nice time talking about that. Caleb very respectfully asked him what advice he would give him, and Arnold gave him some great success advice, and that was pretty cool to see, let's just say the statesman-like lion, the older lion, give this young cub who is destined for being a lion himself some advice, very quietly, not filmed. Just actually Naomi did film it, but that wasn't the point. Nothing that Arnold said. Caleb's read a book a week or a book every couple of days since he was 6 years old, so I'm sure all of the advice Caleb has heard before. But you know what? It's a little bit different when you're getting it from the man himself, whispered in quiet tones. I'm sure Naomi's filming of it was done very subtly, very respectfully, and certainly not. You probably can't even hear a word of it, but I was privy to that conversation where I was standing there with Caleb, with Arnold, and I was just like a fly on the wall, because even though I introduced them, Arnold was focused on talking to Caleb, Caleb was focused on listening to Arnold, and I was there with a tear in my eye saying to myself that I made that happen for that young man. Who knows what impact that had on that young man's life. So that was a pretty cool moment. I got a bit teary. It was cool. And of course, Rana, Naomi's 18 turned 19-year-old daughter, it was in her element, you're hanging out with millionaires, I remember there was one, it was a Western theme, and there's Vivian Yap, a multi-squillion dollar real estate agent from Perth, just a wonderful woman. No wonder she earns so much money, because she's so darn likable. You combine likability with hard work and you're unstoppable, and that's Vivian Yap. So there's Vivian, a very, very wealthy woman, very successful in her own right, of course. And Arnold Schwarzenegger getting some photos, and Renner hanging out with them, getting photos in a Western theme. It did look like a movie set, with Renner and with Arnold and his two girls, Vivian and Renner. So, so cool in so many ways. And Renner, just the other day, I'm looking at it now, I'm at home, and I nipped off to take her mum to the airport. Renner's still here on the Gold Coast. And she left me a personal note on my computer expressing how grateful she was for the trip, for the experience, and the amazing things we did. So, Naomi's been telling me for years how wonderful a woman Renner is, and of course, I had no doubt that she was, but, in those couple of weeks getting to spend so much time with her, I already knew she was, and I got to experience so much more of her soul. I don't even know how to word it. She is a rare, rare soul, and it was an honour for me to hang out with her, and she's expressing gratitude to me. So it was pretty cool. Yes, all in all, we then went back to our hotels, and then we did an event. I skipped the other thing. On Friday night, we went and saw Hollywood Babylon. So for you podcasters, if you want to check out the June 2nd, I think it was, June 2nd episode of Hollywood Babylon, at about half hour in, after Kevin Smith, the great Hollywood director, one of the greatest storytellers of the modern era, just a legend in that space, and does a lot of podcasting. Hollywood Babylon, June 2nd, 2017 episode, about half an hour in, after he talks about Wonder Woman a whole lot. When they're in the shout-out section, there was a whole bunch of us. He dragged us up on stage, and we were chatting and stuff, so it was pretty cool, because I'm a big Kevin Smith fan as well, and for that interaction, because he remembered us from when we were at Hollywood Babylon maybe a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago or something. So he remembered us, and that was pretty cool to have had an even greater interaction with him this second time. Hollywood Babylon, June 2nd episode. That was a lot of fun as well, and you'll see Renner got a bit of a starring role in that interaction as well, which if you check out that podcast, you will see very clearly. So then we did an event after that on Tuesday with some amazing guys, Josh Altman from $1 Million Listing, and some amazing real estate agents that we connect with, Brian Casella, Greg McDaniel, Matt Johnson, who run the Real Estate Uncensored podcast. We did a live event with them, 400 agents registered, a couple of hundred, I think 200, and I don't know how many turned up. There was hundreds of them though that turned up, and we had a great time sharing some knowledge. So we managed to combine some work, some pleasure, some fun, some dreams coming true, and just all in all, it was great. So today's episode is just getting you up to date with, I suppose, the spoils of the discipline in my workspace, how well that has paid off, both professionally and personally, because, the success that we had at the live event managed to fund all of the other stuff, that we managed to do all that holiday without it being any out of pocket. It was all covered by the 1 day of work we did, paid for the, more than paid for the 10 days of fun. So lots of good stuff happened since we've last spoken. Well, I know we spoke yesterday, but, I wanted to have a break from the pressure, where we talk about, where we just catch up and take some of the pressure of weight loss off for just one episode. But like I said, the streak continues. We are still on the streak. We'll talk about where we're at, the head, the trip, and how the weight loss is going, and we'll get back into that fun tomorrow. But for today, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Kevin Smith, Josh Altman, it has been a dream trip. I live the life of my dreams, and the one part that I'm still a work in progress on is what we're here on this podcast to talk about, and that's physically, because I want this to keep going. And, if I'm weighing 118 kilos, then that's 30 kilos overweight, then I'm going to be 10 years down than I potentially could be, And who knows? We don't know that I get hit by a bus tomorrow. Who knows? We never know where we're going to end up. But what I do know is potentially, meeting Sylvester Stallone at 71 years old and still looking like, he ain't going nowhere. Him and Arnold, they're both in phenomenal shape. you know, who knows what's going to happen with them, of course, but they look as healthy and as strong as they ever have. And, you know, for many 70-year-olds, they're kind of starting to fade off, you know, they're starting to look old. Well, these guys look like action heroes. And that's something we got to work on here on this podcast. So anyway, today was a break from the pressure. Hope you've enjoyed, and that was certainly fun for me. And hope you enjoyed this little break and catching up and everything. Tomorrow, we're back to work. I'll see you later.